Okay. Welcome. I figured I would go live. It is Christmas Eve today. And so I thought to myself, since I'm not going to go on tomorrow for Christmas Eve, it might be kind of fun to do a day today where we just get to relax and chat with anybody who wants to join us. So we'll give it a bit of time. We'll see who joins. Don't really have any topics planned. I was thinking there might be some fun things we could chat about. So we'll go from there. So let's give it a bit of time, see who joins us. And let's chat about Freemasonry. I was thinking we could talk about anything we want to talk about. We could talk more about just what your plans are for the holiday season, if your lodge is doing anything, but also what it is that you're excited about for this holiday season before we have Christmas Eve. Actually, I did think, let me just see if I can find it now, actually. Excuse me. Something I just found a second ago, which I thought was actually pretty interesting. A very interesting quote. Hold on just one sec. It's actually a quote that was on Medium, but I thought it was really, really clever. It's not my quote initially. It was one of the most highlighted stories, but I thought it was really an interesting idea. So let me see if I can find it now. So the quote is, I'm just going to pull it up. Edison did not look for problems in solutions. He looked for solutions in need of modification. I think what's super interesting is in Freemasonry, we all kind of understand and recognize the problems that we are facing. People will rank them in different order, but I think most everybody agrees that the problems that we face are reduction in membership, reduction in attendance, as well as so reductions in membership, reductions in attendance, reductions in the number of lodges, and financial pressures. Those seem to be the four areas that most people would agree are the main problems facing Freemasonry. Some would have others as well. And we are always kind of coming with new solutions to deal with those problems, but rarely do we look at the solutions we've already created and then attempt to determine some sort of we look at the solutions and see if they're not working as well as we'd like them to. Do we have to come up with a whole new solution, or is it possible to modify the solution we already have to make it work? So I think that might be kind of interesting and worth asking about. So jump on the chat and let me know. Just gonna give it a bit of time, see who joins us. Just give me a bit of time, see who joins us. Let's talk about Freemasonry or anything else that we want to chat about. Welcome. If you're just joining us, we're here to chat about Freemasonry. And just about anything you want to talk about, I figured that tomorrow's Christmas Eve, and on Christmas Day, I'm doing a personal or I live stream my personal channel. So this is my last chance on the Square and Compass channel to maybe do a quick live stream and just talk to people and see how they're doing and what they want to talk about. Let me know what you think of that quote I've attached in the chat. Edison did not look for problems in need of solution. He looked for solutions in need of modification, which I think might be some very interesting ideas as it relates to Freemasonry there and what that can potentially mean for us. Also here to chat about anything else we want to talk about as we get ready for the holiday season. And once again, just asking people to jump on the chat, say hello, talk about, amongst other things, the quote you see in the chat. Edison did not look for problems in need of solutions. He looked for solutions in need of modification, which I think might be a really interesting quote when applied to Freemasonry, right? In terms of most people, I think, agree that, let's start a poll here, that with Freemasonry is facing certain problems. So I'm asking here, what is the biggest problem facing Freemasonry? You can answer this poll question here. Poor attendance, ownership, too few lodges, financial, or do you think it's something else? Some people would actually say the problem we have right now in Freemasonry is we have too many lodges, not too few. But let me know what you think it is, and then we can kind of go from there, because I'm curious to see what people think of it, as well as potentially what the answer might be. Or more how that relates to the Edison quote. Edison did not look for problems in need of solutions, he looked for solutions in need of modification. What is the modification that he wanted to make? Or what is modifications that we can make to maybe some of the solutions that we've already come up with? Because most lodges are dealing with these things, right? And trying to figure out what the answers are to them. So let's give it a bit of time and see who else joins us. And we can continue talking about this question. Just waiting to see if anybody jumps on and joins us. Last chance to have a podcast before, or on this channel before the holiday season. So I figured why not give it a second or two. And welcome if anybody is just joining us. We're here chatting about, well, really anything we want to talk about, because it is the day before Halloween, Jesus, before Christmas Eve. But I found this really interesting quote. Edison did not look for problems in need of solutions. He looked for solutions in need of modification. I thought that was a really interesting idea as it relates to Freemasonry, because I think so often when it comes to Freemasonry, we're always looking for new solutions as opposed to looking at the solutions we've already got and trying to figure out how to modify them if they're not quite working the way we'd like them to. I'm going to have some great guests coming on in 2025. I have been a little while since I've done an actual proper podcast episode. I've been focusing much more lately on live streams as well as Medium, as well as kind of just posts, polls, things like that. So it's going to be nice to have some interviews again with Brad Phillips from Arkansas and John J. Meek, who's going to talk about his experiences in Russia. So that's going to be really special. So I'm looking forward to having that out once again. So thank you so much for that. I look forward to having you guys join me again. And thank you to all the guests who will be coming by. One vote in the poll. What is the biggest problem facing Freemasonry? Poor attendance. The one vote. Let's see if anybody else jumps in and wants to vote on this as well. And we're just going to give it a bit more time. CEOs joins us, jumps in the chat to say hello. So there's no rush at all. But once we get some more people in the chat, we will go from there. It's interesting. The last short I had did well actually, but it was on also November 17th. So it's been a while since I've had any short traction as well. Live. So it has been a little bit of time since I've done any streams, or sorry, any podcast episodes, but hope to change that soon. And welcome if you're just joining us. Jump in the chat to say hello so I know you're watching. Hit the like button and let me know what you think both of the poll question, what you think of the statement I added there in the chat. Edison did not look for problems in need of solutions. He looked for solutions in need of modification, which I think is a really interesting idea as it relates to Freemasonry, right? Because I think the question there becomes, how often do we, if a solution we come up with in Freemasonry to a problem doesn't work, how often do we end up just changing the problem, like throwing out the solution and trying something completely new, versus is it worth, instead of doing it that way, is it worth actually looking at the solution and maybe not throwing it out wholesale, but just seeing if you can modify it in such a way as to make it successful? Because I think if we were to do that more often, we'd find more success. Just giving you time, see if anybody else joins us. I don't know if anybody has heard this. Well, if you were on my live stream yesterday, you would have heard it. But if not, might be kind of fun and something we can do right now. To share our Masonic Christmas poem from the Grand Lodge of Manitoba. Actually, there's a few on YouTube. Let's see. Actually, maybe I'm going to share the screen here. Give me 1 sec. I don't think that this is being first of all, I'm going to like and subscribe here. But hold on just 1 second. Let's go. I'm going to pause this. Everybody check out this channel if you can. It is Martin. Let's see. It is Martin Bogardus on YouTube. All right, let's see. There's a couple people watching. Welcome if you're just joining us. We're here chatting about, anything we want to talk about as we get ready for the holiday season. But right now, chatting about Freemasonry, potential solutions to some of the problems we face, or more even, what is the biggest problem we face in Freemasonry right now, and how do we solve those? But that would be kind of fun to share some cool stuff I find online, including this here. So give me 1 second. Let's share the screen. All right, let's play this here. Give it 1 second to see if it pops up. Sometimes it can take a while to actually come on. There it goes. All right, I believe we have it now. So with that, let's see. A Masonic Christmas poem from the Martin Bargatus channel. I don't even know anything about this channel, if he's a Mason or not. I have no clue. But I'm assuming he is, because he came up with this Christmas poem here.
A Masonic Christmas poem, inspired by Clement C. Moore's A Visit from St. Nicholas, narrated by Martin Bogardus. 'Twas the night before Christmas, and down at the lodge, not a gavel was stirring, and in the hodgepodge of aprons and jewels and chairs east and west, you could savor the silence, most gladly divest, all metal and mineral, it mattered not, since Christmas was nigh and the coals were still hot. In the hearth of your homestead, all masons abed, as visions of trestle boards danced in their head. When up on the roof there arose such a clatter, our Tyler jumped up to see what was the matter. He picked up his sword and ran fast to the door. 3 knocks shook the panels. He wondered what for. He answered the knocks with raps of his own. And once the door opened, he saw with a moan of delight it was Santa, all jolly and red, except for one notable feature instead. Upon his large finger wore lie what we knew was compass and square on a background of blue. "Why, Santa," he shouted, and lowered his blade. "I see you're a Mason," the Tyler relayed. He looked toward the master's most dignified chair, and said, voice near trembling, "Most worshipful there, is a gentleman properly clothed at the gate?" The master replied, "Let's allow him. But wait, you tell me a gentleman, but I don't see his apron below that red suit. Can it be our visitor hasn't been properly raised? Must we offer a test that is suitably phrased?" "I do beg your pardon," old Santa said quick. as he pulled up his coat and displayed not a stick, but a cane with engraving. 2 balls did appear, and oh, what an apron he wore and held dear. Armed like a master, complete with a sign of Lodge Number 1, the North Pole, on one line. Now let man enter, the master declared, and once in the lodge room the brethren all stared, for Santa was wearing a jewel not seen for many a century, and there in between the fur of his coat and the splendid red collar gleamed 2 golden reindeer that shone like a dollar. It's Donner and Blitzen, who I must confess are actually images brought from the West by my warden, a craftsman like none in the world. And with a great laugh from his bag he unfurled an ear of corn, some oil from the East. My friends, we have plenty. Tonight we will feast on all that is good. We are Masons, kind sir. A murmur went up through the lodge, quite a stir, as presents and promises flew from his sack. This Santa, a Mason, showed he had the knack for making this Christmas the best you could glean. And soon even deacons were laughing. They'd seen on this very night only happiness reigned. The jolly St. Nicholas quickly explained that only a Mason could be so inclined to make all kids happy, make all people find a Christmas so special. Yes, Santa was right. Merry Christmas to all, and to our lodge a good night.
That was really cool. I've never heard that before, that poem before. I've heard a few different Masonic poems, but never that one, or at least a few different Masonic Christmas poems, but never that one. So I'm going to leave the actual link right here in the chat. I'm also going to post it on my socials. Because that's really, really cool. Might be worth, actually, I'm curious now. I think I might check this out. More about this fella who did that poem. I don't know if he's a Mason, like I said, or... So let's see what we can find out about him. But that is really cool. All right. It looks like Martin Bogardus must be a Mason. Yeah, looks like it. He, on his YouTube page, The Lady and the Mason, looks like Masonic poetry, along with some other stuff here and there. That's super interesting. All right, check out that link in the chat if you want to hear a Masonic Christmas poem, and then you can check out his page. I've subscribed to it. It's really, really cool. Looks like it was all stuff he was doing a couple of years ago. It's cool, though. Joined from 2012, it looks like. All right, cool. It'd be interesting to have him on the podcast at some point to talk about maybe his Masonic poetry, if he'd ever be interested. I don't know if he would be or what his kind of interest is still, but he did a Masonic Christmas poem, so that is very, very cool. That's the second one I've heard in terms of Masonic Christmas poem. Actually, today I'm wondering I might go to the bright lights of Windsor down the way. So it is kind of chilly. From November 9th to 20. What are the hours? (5:30 to 10). So I might still have time to go tonight. We'll see how well this does. Give me more time for anybody else to jump on who wants to jump on and say hello. I'm in no rush. I do have my personal account live stream happening on Christmas Day at 1:30, just to give a chance for people to join us and say hello. And welcome if you're just joining us. Answer the poll question. Check out the link I posted in the video regarding, or in the chat, regarding a Masonic Christmas poem I just discovered, which is really, really cool. I've had the chance to explore a few different Masonic poems over the years, commissioned a couple, but this is the first time. This is the first time we discovered that one, so it's in the link. So check that one out by all means. Or we can talk about whatever you guys want to chat about as well. Welcome. If you're just joining us, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, jump in the chat, say hello. Let me know how you're doing. We're here chatting about just a chance to come on before Christmas Eve, Eve, and I figured I'd jump in and chat with anybody who's interested. But also wanted to talk about, in this case, maybe some of the problems Freemasonry is facing and some of the potential solutions that they could face. And also that quote from Edison and how we deal with those solutions. Or how we perhaps modify those solutions if we feel they're not going right. Sometimes I think with Freemasonry, when something doesn't work, we're too quick to just throw it all out as opposed to trying to restart it and figuring it out. I do have, though, if you guys do like and prefer my podcasts, I know it's been a little while since I had one. They are coming back. I've got an interview with Brad Phillips from Arkansas next year, as well as with John Meeks to discuss his trip, in the case of Brother Meeks, to discuss his trip to Ottawa. Or sorry, Ottawa, geez, to discuss his trip to Russia. I do also want to do some episodes about Freemasonry in Ottawa. I've written some things about it. I maybe I'll leave a link to the in the chat, but also I think it might be really cool to post something, post some more videos and interviews with brethren from Ottawa, just because I think Ottawa is such a cool city. It's our nation's capital. It's got amazing history as well as amazing Masonic history and amazing Canadian history, kind of all of the above, amazing architecture as well. And so I think it would be really cool to check it out and head down there. So, and that's another video I want to do. Let me know though, in 2025 also, what do you want to see me talk about? What do you want to see Square and Compass Promotions talk about? Are there any Masonic topics that you think aren't being covered enough that should be covered more? Maybe there are things that you want to discuss in your lodge, but for whatever reason are concerned to bring up in lodge. I'm happy to try to discuss those things. Maybe even if you have any suggestions for guests that you think Square and Compass Promotions should interview or should try to interview. So it could be guests, it could be topics, it could be things that you think we should write about on our Medium channel, things we should do videos about, things we should explore, things we should ask questions about. Kind of what do you want to see from Square and Compass Promotions in 2024? I think it'd be a really cool topic and worth checking out. So let me know in the chat what it is that you want to hear about. And if you are just joining us, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Again, the question I have here right now is, what is the biggest problem facing Freemasonry? We have one vote, poor attendance, but and maybe what you think the biggest problem is isn't even on there, one of the four. I wrote down too few lodges. Some would say actually the problem is we have too many lodges, not too few, depending on how you view it. So jump in the chat and say what you think the problem is. I'd be happy to know what your thoughts are and what you think about the Edison quote. Like I was saying, not looking for problems in need of solutions, looking for solutions in need of modification. And also, are there any topics you want to see me or Scram Compass Promotions discuss in 2024? I'm just happy to wait and see if anyone else wants to jump on. I figured, again, I do this because I know everybody's going to be super busy during the holiday season. So I figured maybe now would be a good time to just jump on and have some fun. Welcome if you're just joining us. We're here really chatting about anything we want. I figured it's Christmas Eve. I know you're going to be super busy during Christmas, so it's a chance to maybe take a few moments to just talk with everybody before the holiday season. I will be having on my personal account a live stream on Christmas Day, just as another way to say hello to everybody on behalf of myself. But I figured maybe we have a few minutes. I can jump on, answer any of the questions in the chat. Are there any topics you want to see me discuss on either live stream or podcast in 2024 or 2025? Excuse me. What are those topics? Could be Masonic, could be even maybe Masonic related, but not directly Masonic. The idea of what are the problems facing Freemasonry and how can we potentially try to solve some of those problems? And also, are we too quick to ignore potential solutions to some of the, or throw out solutions if they're not working right? Hey, Dad, how's it going? What'd you have for supper? Jump in the chat and let me know. Oh, 2 votes. What is the biggest problem facing Freemasonry? Both are saying poor attendance. So there you go. I'm assuming that was Dad. Let me know, Dad, what you had for supper, what you think. Also, not just what you think of what I wrote there, but what do you think about that Edison quote that I have attached there, right? Edison did not look for problems in need of solutions. He looked for solutions in need of modification. The point of that one being that sometimes I think with Freemasonry, we all kind of agree roughly, we all kind of agree on the problems that it's facing. But when it comes to solutions, we tend to, I think, sometimes go between solution or solution, or we don't look at how, once we come up with an idea and if it's not working, we don't look at how to modify that idea or try something different. We just try to stick with it over and over again. So there's that. Also, are there any topics you want Square and Compass to cover in 2025, right? Any ideas, any topics, any discussion points, anything like that? Anything you want, we can talk about in 2025. Maybe it's guests you think we should have. I do have some interviews scheduled. I have some with Brad Phillips from Arkansas, past Grand Master there, as well as John Meeks to talk about his time in Russia and Russian Freemasonry, which is actually something I am super interested in. I'd like to do a podcast about Russian Freemasonry, but for now, I will do it with a gentleman who traveled to Russia for the Grand Lodge Annual Communication and what that was like. Leftover beef, potatoes, and that sounds like a good, healthy dinner. That's the type of thing Papa and Nana would always eat back in the day. Whenever I go see them, they'd always have meat, potatoes, some version of that. So that's cool. Let me know also, anybody else who's watching this, hit the like button, subscribe button. And like I was saying, let me know in the chat first what you think of that quote I've got on there about the biggest problem facing Freemasonry and potential solutions, as well as are there any topics you want to see me discuss in 2025? Which it's hard to believe 2025 is so close. It's just around the corner. I actually posted something about that on Facebook, or sorry, on Medium. I wrote that thing about what Edison did, and looking for solutions in need of modification. So I thought that was really cool as well. Also, heck, just let me know what it is that you've particularly enjoyed about 2024 and this Christmas season. I was saying on Facebook, I've been lucky enough so far to get to attend, I think, 5 holiday dinners this year. And they've all been absolutely delicious. So it's a reminder of how lucky I am, even though there's usually some pain in the ass going on. I still am incredibly lucky. And so I think it's important to remember those things, especially during the holiday season. And welcome if you're just joining us once again. What is the biggest problem facing Freemasonry? What do you want to see us cover in 2025? What do you think of the Edison quote? Anything else you want to chat about, though? I actually haven't had my dinner yet. My pops is on. He mentioned he had leftover beef, potatoes, and peas. I have not had the chance to have dinner yet, so I plan to do it after I do this. But yeah, hit the like button as well. Hit the subscribe button. All those good things that you hear people say all the time. It gets annoying to always be repeating it, but it's still very true. Don't look ahead too far. Live every day as it comes. Change things on the spur of the moment. Well, that's good advice. I think that's kind of how I tend to live my life, for better or worse. Yeah, I mean, you can definitely overplan. I think it's quite easy actually for people to overplan, which tends to, I think, usually that tends to cause more problems. I think sometimes you got to be able to be quick and flexible and move. And that's true for Freemasonry as well. Sometimes you can get way too focused on one particular plan or one particular solution, to go back to the quote from Edison, and you get so locked into that you fail to think about what you could do. Like you decide that's the only way, and you don't adapt, and that can cause all sorts of problems down the line. I think that is very often the case. Let me know if you have a favorite, by the way, Christmas movie that you're going to watch. I always love watching It's a Wonderful Life. I think it's a great movie. I think it's especially important nowadays. People don't realize the message of it is so vital, especially in 2024, 2025. So I plan to watch It's a Wonderful Life. I plan to watch Surviving Christmas, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. There's lots I want to watch. So they're all on my list. I leave the planning to others. Good idea. I wish I could. Don't believe me. I wish I could leave the planning to others. I mean, I plan to, as time goes on, leave more of the planning of these things to others. It's hard, right? Because you just get so swamped with it. I mean, depending, right? When you remember the 3 lodges, I'm active in all 3. I'm secretary in a couple of them. Like it gets pretty exhausting, or acting secretary, or pick your term. I'm trying to hopefully do also more next year, some more discussions on the science side of Freemasonry. I've had a few interviews with different NASA scientists, which I've always loved doing. I've had some interviews with archaeologists, which I've loved doing. I hope to do more in the coming months, days, or year, 2025, I should say. Because it's been a little while since I've had like a scientist on the podcast. So I'd like to do that again because I do believe part of Freemasonry, the focus should be on um, science and lifelong learning and education. Um, I also really think that one of the best things that we can do as Freemasons is always try to be learning more, especially from a learning more about the liberal arts and sciences, geometry, things of that nature, but also maybe about stonemasonry in some ways. I think that learning about the history of that would be helpful. I've posted a few things about that online over the last few years. I do not. Some lodges do that though, but not mine. I have to pay 3 sets of dues to 3 lodges, so it's not cheap. But yeah, but I do actually. Funny thing is, I mentioned this before, but having a dues card and keeping your dues card, they make great mementos. Like I put all of my past dues cards in a photo album, which I've always really. I like to do that because I like to go back over time and I see my first one and how they've changed and kind of the memories attached to them. So, little suggestion for everybody: if you get the chance, I would strongly recommend that you post your dues cards or you keep your past dues cards. Don't throw them out. Get a photo album and put them in the photo album. Believe me, it's really, really cool and it's a great keepsake. I've actually wrote all about all that type of stuff on Medium, keeping Freemasonry in mind. One of the things I talk about is why it's so important to pay your dues, pay them early. I mean, pay them at least on time, but paying them early is so much better for the lodge. As well as all the other things, keeping your lodge up to date with your changes in contact information so they can mail you what they need to mail you, and doing all that type of stuff is so important and is done so rarely, I think, nowadays. Keep Freemasonry in mind. It's pretty important. And if you keep it in mind, it will help Freemasonry keep if you keep Freemasonry in mind, Freemasonry will. It helps the lodge because the lodge doesn't have to chase you down and waste its time trying to find you and all that type of stuff. It can actually focus on trying to actually, do the best job it can be in terms of managing itself, the administration part of it. Secretaries are busy people. Treasurers are busy people. Masters are busy people. So you kind of have responsibility as well as to help them out by keeping Freemasonry in mind. Interesting. All right. Thank you so much, Zach, for joining us. Welcome. I hope you'll hit the like and subscribe button if you can, if you're not already subscribed or liking the stream. Excuse me. The biggest problem is the way modern society atomizes the individual. Individualism is championed, collectivism discouraged. Communities don't exist anymore because it's not profitable. So that's a really interesting point, I think, that you're making, Zach. And you're right. And so that kind of, there's 2 types of problems, right? There's first order problems, if you want to call it that, and second order problems. So a second order problem would be poor attendance, low membership, financial, too few whatever it might be. But then there's the first order problem of what is causing the poor attendance, what is causing the low membership, what is causing these challenges. And in that case, I think, Zach, what you're saying is, it's society atomizing or otherwise encouraging individualism over collectivism, which I do agree. I mean, I think sometimes that can be a political message, like the opportunity economy and how damaging I think or dangerous that can be. But also I think that can be passive in the sense of like, back in the day, in order to find entertainment or to find some type of social activity, you had to leave your house. You had to go to a lodge. You had to be part of a community or be part of multiple communities. And that was also encouraged because it was profitable. If you're part of a community, it meant you're more likely to go out with that community, go to a restaurant, go to a bar, go to whatever it is. Nowadays, you can order food online. You can see what your friends are doing online. You can meet people on, like, you don't need necessarily that face-to-face interaction that Freemasonry is so dependent upon in order to survive. So no, I agree. I guess my question, Zach, if you're still there, would be twofold. First, to what extent do you think so the championing of individualism over collectivism, do you think that that is causing low membership or poor attendance? Right? Is the issue that people are encouraged to be individualistic and therefore are less likely to join, or is it that once they join, they're less likely to attend? Because I think one of the biggest mistakes Freemasonry has made is it tends to I'm trying to think what the word is. It tends to commingle or like conflate, I guess is the word, attendance and membership, and those aren't the same things. They're connected, but they're not the same things, right? So what is that? And then also, do you think that Freemasonry has the potential or the ability to potentially encourage collectivism once again and encourage the building of community? And how would Freemasonry go about it? By the way, thank you, everybody. We got 5 votes in this poll. What is the biggest problem facing Freemasonry? Poor attendance, 2 votes. Low membership, 2 votes. Financial, 1 vote. So thank you so much for that. Interesting, nobody has said too few lodges. There are a lot of people, on a side note, who would actually argue that the problem we face isn't too few lodges, it's too many lodges, and encourage amalgamations. I personally don't. I've not seen, in my experience, amalgamations be successful in helping lodges, but that's not to say there's not good arguments to be made for that as well. So let's give it a bit of time and see what else people think. But Zach, I do appreciate that very much. Also, Zach, if you can and you want, let me know what you think we should talk about in 2025. One thing I want to talk about, actually, by the way, and I have talked about what you've said before on the podcast and on these live streams, Zach, is I want to get Putman, who did Bowling Alone. I want to get him on the podcast if I can to talk about his book, Bowling Alone, as well as his new movie Join or Die, which is about this very problem. So that's really, really cool. Thank you so much for bringing that up. I do appreciate it very much. I hope you got my questions and you can answer them if possible. And yeah, thank you so much for providing your answer. Oh, I think it means the idea of joining isn't on the radar. And if it is, they have no understanding of how to interact with the idea. We sit online watching entertainment on a track, separated, automatized. Yeah. So that's an interesting, right? So you're kind of, oh, sorry, 6 votes. Poor attendance is in the lead. It looks like poor attendance has 3 votes, low membership, 2, financial, 1. See, because that's an interesting point, right? The idea of joining isn't on their radar. And if it is, they have no understanding of how to interact with the idea. So it's like, yeah, so we're being encouraged right off the bat not to join things, or it's not getting on our radar. But then what happens to, like, how do you explain necessarily those members who, and we have a ton of these members who are in their 20s, so who join in their 20s, are relatively active, but then in their 40s and 50s, we just don't see them anymore. And we're lucky if they ever come back, which can be pretty questionable. Do you think that they are kind of falling into this trap of atomization, and when they were younger, society was changed, but now they've just been encouraged to be individualistic and not collective? As you say, we sit online, so maybe when they joined, especially if they're 40 now, they joined when they were 20, so they joined, or 21 in Ontario, let's say, so they joined let's say about 20 years ago, 2004. You didn't have as many options for online entertainment as you do now, for example, and it's not the same. So do you think it's just kind of this grinding down of people over the last 20 years as more and more stuff becomes available online for them, if that makes any sense? Just outside of Dublin, Ireland, there's a large data buildings, Google, Amazon, etc. They are using up 21% of Southern Ireland's hydro. I'd believe it. I mean, those places are crazy in terms of the amount of energy that they suck up and use from other people. So, and that just goes to show how incredibly large these online services are, and how much a part of our lives they've become. I can't judge too much. Look at me now, right here on YouTube. But I will say I try to also make sure I deal with my Masonic commitments in person. And I'm proud of doing that as well. As I drink a Pepsi, speaking of corporations, I've never been an anti-corporation guy by any means, but I am somebody who's concerned about the extent to which some of these corporations are encouraging individuality as a way to maintain or even grow profits. And also the interesting point that you bring up there of how to interact, I think, is a really valid question as well, right? Do people know even how to interact with each other in a Masonic setting? It's not renewable energy. Well, I mean, hydro would be renewable energy, right? Hydro is just water. So I think hydro is renewable, but so much of what they use isn't. So much of how they get their energy isn't. So much of having to mine the metals, for example, it's not renewable in the sense that the damage done to the earth tends to kind of just stick. So I mean, it's maybe semi-renewable. I think it depends, right? A lot of what people view of as renewable, it kind of changes depending how you define what is renewable energy. But welcome. If you're just joining us, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed. We are talking about a lot of different things because, one day before Christmas Eve, I figured I'd come on. It's Christmas Eve. But one thing we're talking about here is, what is the biggest problem facing Freemasonry? We've had 6 votes, 3 for poor attendance, 2 for low membership, 1 for financial. Interestingly enough, 0 for too few lodges, which does, I think, bring up the really interesting question. Is it possible to have too few lodges? Some would argue that it's the opposite problem that we're facing, actually, that right now we have too many lodges, and there are a lot of people encouraging lodges to look at amalgamations or going dark and the membership moving to another lodge. I've never believed in it myself. I'm not a big fan of that, but I understand where some people kind of come and get that idea. And I'm not opposed to the idea behind it or the arguments behind it, but I personally am not a fan of it myself. I am also debating maybe tonight going down and checking out Bright Lights Windsor. And if I do, maybe I'll do some live streaming there on my personal account once again. LiveStream or Bright Lights Windsor is an absolutely awesome part of living in Windsor, especially during the holiday season. I don't know if anybody's ever checked it out before, but if you haven't, I would encourage you, if you live in Windsor, to do so because it's absolutely amazing. Let's give it a second, see who else wants to answer this question. What is the biggest problem facing Freemasonry? Also, anything else you want to talk about? But thank you, Zach, for providing your answers. I think definitely maybe a first order problem, I don't know how to solve it, is the increasing, as he describes it, atomization of the universe, atomization of society, the way individualism is being encouraged over collectivism, and potentially what that can mean in terms of how we're able to potentially to deal with each other, join these groups, et cetera, right? Like, I think that makes it really hard. So, but welcome. Oh, their electricity comes from peat and coal. Oh, yeah. So that's definitely not renewable. I mean, I don't know about peat, but I know for sure 100% coal is not a renewable energy resource. So, yeah, just going to show, right, the way these online companies, online corporations, online entertainment, online whatever it is, I mean, there's benefits to it. Don't get me wrong. There's absolutely benefits to it. But I think in the same sense, you have to also recognize that there's some potentially negative aspects to it too, including negative in terms of what it does to Freemasonry, how it potentially discourages attendance at in-person meetings, how it potentially discourages joining organizations and membership. So, but that's not to say you can't find benefits from it as well. Look at all the things I've been able to do with Square Encompass Promotions and how absolutely incredible it's been. So, I think everything has a double-edged sword to it, for better or worse. But thank you, everybody, for joining us once again. Please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Let me know what you think about this question here, as well as anything else you want to talk about. Again, it doesn't have to just be about Freemasonry. Your new tattoo, I don't know what it means. Oh, this tattoo here. It's upside down. You kind of, just because of the way it is. It is from Halloween 5 and 6, one of my favorite movies, two of my favorite movies, Cult of Thorn. That's Oh Boy. First, welcome, That's Oh Boy. I hope that you would be so kind as to hit the like and subscribe button. Let me know also how you found us. Did we just show up on your feed? Also, That's Oh Boy. Any questions you have about Freemasonry, please by all means ask. I'll do my best to answer them. You say anything secretive has nothing to do with God. So I guess my question would be, how would you define secretive? Because obviously being here, talking with everybody, I'm open about the fact that I'm a Freemason. I've been a Freemason since 2007. So, I mean, there's nothing secretive of in that sense. Our buildings are usually advertised as Masonic centers or Masonic temples or Masonic spaces, Masonic buildings. So, yeah, I think that. So I guess my question would be, how would you define secretive? Because to me, Freemasonry isn't secretive. Freemasonry is private. There are certain private ceremonies we have, and I can talk to you about the reason why I believe it's important that they, remain private, and within membership exclusively. But that's different than saying they're secretive. So let me know where you get the idea of secretive. And also, again, thank you for joining us. Like I said, please hit the like and the subscribe button. They cover each other's crimes. Well, I mean, I can't speak for the they. What I can tell you is, for myself, I've never, as a Freemason, I've never covered the crimes of any other Freemason, or known of any crimes to cover. Also, one of the things that we are explicitly told not to do in Masonic charges, or excluded, is to keep a secret if that secret involves any type of offense against the laws of the country in which you are. So any type of felony. Now, that's not to say I can't speak for every Freemason everywhere, and I'm who knows what's happened in the past, but I can say, as my Masonic experiences have always been, that Freemasons are not only expected to maintain and uphold the laws of the country in which they reside, but also to hold others to that same standard. So that's always been my experience, anyways, for what it's worth. In the meantime, that's all. But once again, if you could let me know how you came across this, was it just on your news feed? Or do you follow us on social media? And if you could hit the like and subscribe button. Also, if you want, please, by all means, ask me any other questions about Freemasonry. I'm happy to try and answer. I've been a Mason since 2007, so I don't pretend to know everything. I certainly don't. No, nobody does. But I can at least potentially send you in some right directions or get you in some general ideas, or even just answer for myself personally and what I find or what I think about Freemasonry. So yeah, by all means, jump on and let me know. Your channel popped up on my news. Okay, cool. I'm glad it's popping up. I'm glad that the algorithm is showing me some love. So that's really awesome. Like I said, it sounds like you've got some questions about Freemasonry. So by all means, if you do, I hope you'll ask them. It could be anything, even including about my personal Masonic journey, why I joined, all that type of stuff. Also, we can talk about other things as well. It's Christmas Eve. So if you want to talk about the holidays, we can talk about that as well. I do these live streams just for fun, get the chance to chat with people. I also have different live streams and podcast episodes about Freemasonry. So if you check out my YouTube channel, you'll see some different episodes I posted with different Freemasons. And we talk about kind of our Masonic experiences and why we love it, and also sometimes why we find it challenging and why we find it difficult, and its strengths and its weaknesses, and the good parts of it and the bad parts of it, and et cetera, et cetera. Because like with everything, there are positives and negatives, and there are challenges that you face in Freemasonry. So especially if you're an active Freemason like I am. So yeah, by all means, please jump in and ask questions if you'd like, and I'll do my best to answer them. And as always, please hit the like button and please hit the subscribe button. Consider it a Christmas gift to me if you hit the like and subscribe button. But yeah, Dad, my tattoo. So again, while we're waiting to see if any other questions pop up, let's see if I can find a picture of it. Excuse me. The because the other thing is, when it comes to questions, that's, oh boy, I'm not going to, I'll try to be as honest as I can, or I'll try to be honest in terms of what my experiences have been, both good and bad. Again, I can't be honest for other people or speak for other people's experiences, but I can give you my experiences. because it is still, even though it's got its positives and negatives, my favorite thing to talk about. So, and I guess I'll say thank you to the YouTube algorithm for popping in your news stream, or supporting me by showing me in people's news streams. Also, because it's Christmas, maybe what I'll do is I'll tell you guys my Christmas Hallmark Christmas movie idea regarding Freemasonry, because I think there's a great movie available when it comes to Freemasonry. So I'd like to talk about that at some point as well. So that might be worth doing later on. But I need to find like a filmmaker. I don't even know, how do you provide your how do you submit story ideas to agents or to people? Because that's kind of one of my main questions, is how do you, if I have this great idea for a Hallmark Christmas movie, do I submit it to Disney? Do I submit it to, like, where do I? Anybody know that, by the way? How do I, if I have a story idea, how do I submit it to Hallmark, Netflix, whatever it is? Here's an interesting one. Script pipeline. All right. Ugh. Looks like it costs money, though, to do so. So I'm not going to do that. Here it is. How to pitch a movie. Because my Hallmark Christmas movie idea would be great. It doesn't take that long. I don't feel like it don't take that long to shoot. Maybe we can get it done in 2025. CJOB radio interview to Hallmark. Yeah, well, they've done a bunch in Winnipeg. It's funny. Excuse me. Winnipeg has actually become like a really popular place for people to, or a really popular place to film like a lot of movies. They're actually filming, or they filmed one of my favorite movies of all time. It's one of my favorite books of all time is The Long Walk by Stephen King. Maybe my second favorite book after Don Quixote. And one of my favorite, so The Long Walk, and they did this book by Stephen King, and they just filmed the movie adaptation of the book in Winnipeg when I was there over the summer. And they also filmed a few Hallmark Christmas movies. Actually, I remember coming back home one night after a wrestling show with Wrestling United, which I'm back for January 9th. Buy your tickets. And it was like 3 a.m, and I got to watch them actually filming the Hallmark Christmas movie at night. It was really cool. It was fun to watch it. The director, here's a crazy thing, which people may not realize. The director of that Hallmark Christmas movie, 5 Gold Rings, was also the director of the 2010 remake of I Spit on Your Grave. And if you don't know what movie that is, it's very, very different than a Hallmark Christmas movie, put it that way. So but yeah, I think Winnipeg, it's interesting. Winnipeg, actually, one Hallmark movie I just watched, which I really liked, was on the 12th date of Christmas. And that was set in Chicago, but filmed in Winnipeg. So it was filmed in the city I grew up and set in one of my favorite cities of all time, one of the big four. So two of the big four got in there. So I thought that was really, really cool. I'm looking here at this, trying to figure out if I can find maybe a. Actually, here's what I'm going to do, just so people can see it. Let's see. On the 12th date of Christmas. Yeah, I mean, well, I think they make so many of them. It's crazy how many of these movies they make. Because I feel like they crank out a bunch every year, and I love them all, even though it probably makes me kind of a wuss. I'm a soft-hearted fellow at heart. What can I say? I do love a good Hallmark Christmas romance movie, especially, set at Christmas, especially. I think those are the best. Okay, 7 votes. What is the biggest problem facing Freemasonry? Poor attendance and low membership. Each got 3 votes, it looks like. And then financial has 1 vote. So there you go. Well, there's been a bunch, I'm sure. The guy who did 5 gold rings, let's see if I can find his name. By the way, Dad, let me know how you're liking that, how you're liking your new cheese grater. So, 5 Gold Rings was directed by Stephen R. Monroe. So it might have been that person that you're thinking of. And also, speaking of, let me know if you have been using your Prime, Amazon Prime to watch any movies and which ones they've been and all that stuff when I signed you up for when I was there last time. Well, I guess you're, using mine, but there we go. Stephen R. Monroe. Could have been him. Let's give it a bit more time, see who else joins us as we keep talking about what is the biggest problem facing Freemasonry and anything else we want to talk about. So we'll give it a bit more time, see who else joins us. We can talk about Freemasonry. Works good, the cheese grater. Well, there you go. So I'm happy about that. I'm happy it's working for you. Oh, interesting. All right, we got 8 votes now on this poll question. What is the biggest problem facing Freemasonry? So it looks like actually low membership is now in the lead. It looks like We've got 4 votes for low membership, 3 votes for poor attendance, and 1 vote for financial. Still interesting also that nobody is going with too few lodges. So that it's interesting thing because it makes me think that, all right, too few lodges is not what people are recognizing as a problem. And again, a lot of people would say it's the opposite. We have too many lodges and we need to amalgamate. So, which I'm not a huge fan of myself, amalgamations, but I know different people have different opinions on that. So let's give it a bit more time though. We'll see who else joins us and wants to chat about this or anything else. Actually, I'm going to change this because one thing I'm working on now or hoping to get an interview with is have you ever visited a Masonic or body in Thailand? I'd like to learn more about some Masonic bodies, especially in Asia, because I know really, unfortunately, so little about Freemasonry in Asia. The one exception might be the Freemasonry in the Philippines. I've been lucky enough to know a lot of great Masons from there. But other than that, I know it exists. I know very little about Freemasonry in Japan, very little about Freemasonry in very little about Freemasonry in Japan, very little about Freemasonry in South Korea. I'm pretty obviously, it doesn't exist in North Korea, but I want to learn more about Freemasonry in Asia in general, but, Vietnam, Thailand, all those places, I think it'd be really fascinating. So that is my question there. Or maybe some brethren who are from Thailand, potentially who joined either in Thailand or joined here. So let's give it a bit of time, see who else. Actually, I know a guy. who did fun. I'm just thinking now. Ever have an idea that just pops up? We're going to have a bit more time, see what jumps in the chat. Anything else I want to talk about? This question about Freemasonry, Masonic Lodge or body in Thailand, because I'm curious, because that is one country in which I know almost nothing about Freemasonry. I looked up a little bit online. I'm trying to get an interview with them, but I'm curious. So let's see what they say. Two votes, one yes, one no. If you did vote attend, let me know which Masonic lodge or body you visited. Was it like a Blue Lodge? Was it Shrike? Was it York? Right? Because I think both, if I recall correctly, both of them right now are out of, based on my research, are what's the word? Chartered out of the Grand Lodge of Ireland, I think. Either UGLE or the Grand Lodge of Ireland, but I believe the Grand Lodge of Ireland, if I recall correctly. Let me know also in the chat if you want. What is the furthest that you've ever actually traveled for a Masonic meeting or event or a lodge or whatever it might be? It doesn't have to be like an actual official lodge. It could just be a banquet or some special event. I've been really lucky. I guess it'd have to be across the pond because I've been lucky enough to travel to England for a meeting at Halt Whistle United, where my grandfather was a member, in which my grandfather was a member. So that would be the first. That was really before I was as serious into Freemasonry as I am now. But I would be curious to know. And also in the meantime, just saying, jump in the chat. We can talk about anything you guys want to chat about as well. And welcome. If you're just joining us, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. And let me know what you want to chat about. We're here chatting about Freemasonry. It's Christmas Eve. So it gave me a chance. I figured I'd come on because I know how swamped everybody's going to be in the coming days and, weeks in some ways, or week. That Christmas, New Year period is always super challenging, I think, in terms of trying to get anything done. So I thought it might be kind of fun to jump on and just chat with people and see how you're doing. We were talking about the biggest problems facing Freemasonry, what they think we are. Now we're asking about visiting Masonic body or lodge in Thailand, or more generally, Thailand is because I know so little about it, but countries in Asia in general. I don't know a ton about Freemasonry there. I wish I knew more. So I'm curious if any of you guys have any experiences or visitations. And as always, please take a moment, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. The more people we have liking and subscribing, the better it is for the algorithm. Showing the algorithm love, all that good stuff can only be helpful. So thank you so much. And thank you everybody who's joined us so far. I've had about 48 people join us. So we'll give it a bit more time, maybe a few more minutes, see if anybody else jumps into the chat to say hello. As I was saying, we've got a lot of actually really exciting and really fun interviews coming up soon, including interviews with Brad Phillips from the Grand Lodge of Arkansas, who's a really cool dude, as well as John Meeks to talk with him about the Grand Lodge of Russia and his visitation there. Because I know when it comes to visitation on outside of North America, I'm really quite limited. I've been lucky enough to visit lodges in Haltwhistle, England, which I thought was really, really fun. But beyond that, sadly, I have not had the chance to visit a lot of lodges outside of that. So I really want to visit lodges in Russia. I really want to visit lodges in Israel. I really want to visit lodges in Ukraine. I really want to visit lodges in Thailand. I really want to visit lodges in Japan. I want to visit lodges all over the world. So, it might be kind of fun to, let's see if I can do this. I've had the chance to virtually visit a lot of, like in Romania, Bulgaria. I've had them on my podcast, which has been a lot of fun, but actually visiting in person, sadly, not so much. Let's see if I can do it this way. All right, so if I'm going to see if I can share this screen. Just give me 1 second. Have this while we're waiting for more people to jump on the chat and say hello. By the way, I'm always happy if you guys will jump on and say hi. Let's see if I can share this screen for just 1 second. And let's. All right, so we got the map here. I just want to make sure if it connects for you guys as well. See how long it takes for that. Oh, looks like we got it there. Let's see if it comes up over here for you guys as well. Oh, there it is. All right. I wonder if I can mark out on here all the different places I've visited when it comes to a Masonic lodge or Masonic experience. We have to zoom a little bit. All right. It says zoom active, but I don't know how to make this actually be active. All right. Well, let's just try it this way for now. So I visited lodges in Ontario. How do I fill it in, though? That's the question. All right. This does not seem. Oh, there we go. Ontario. We got it filled in. I've also visited lodges in Manitoba. I visited lodges in Michigan. Oh, that's Wisconsin. That's the wrong spot. Michigan. Come on, I want to take it off of there. Visited lodges in California, a bunch of them, Florida, Texas, Arizona, Illinois, Nevada, New York, never Connecticut, not Massachusetts, though I want to, not New Hampshire. Hold on a second. Can't get to these little small states over here. Being a pain in the, very, very difficult. Oh. Dad was saying my lodge Amalgamated in 1985. We held our first meetings in Canadian Legion until a fire. We were welcome to use Kimberley Downport. I have to leave now. A shuffleboard is waiting for my neighbors. Go to shuffleboard, Dad. Thank you so much for joining us. Much appreciated. Good a few minutes, but thank you, Dad. And say hi to everybody for me at shuffleboard. Let's give it a few more minutes, see who else joins. Actually, we've had a really good turnout today, 51 people. Thank you so much to everybody who's joined us and taken part. Thank you for the 1,856 subscribers as well. That is awesome. I've got some ideas, so I think I'm going to take a break now and head off, and then I'll come back very, very soon. All right. Thank you guys so much. This has been a blast. I will see you guys later.